Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Calabasas City Council meeting of April 22nd, 2026 at 7 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order. Tonight I'm joined by all of my colleagues, Mayor Pro Tem Albrecht, Council Members Crouch, Shapiro, and Weintraub, as well as city staff. If you'd like to provide public comment, please fill out one of these forms, which are located in the back. I already have several cards, but if you'd like to speak, please fill one out and give it to the city clerk over there. I'm now going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Dorina Shajari, is that right? Close enough? Okay. To lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. We'll move on to the presentations tonight. If you'll indulge me, we have a proclamation that I'd like to read. It is a little bit lengthy, but I think it's important. It's a proclamation from us denouncing hate and affirming human dignity in honor of Genocide Recognition Month. I did want to thank Alicia for bringing this to my attention as well. Thank you, Alicia. I did want to kind of apologize to my colleagues. I didn't really thoroughly check with you to make sure that you were okay with signing it. I was kind of hastily did this, and it's kind of a violation of protocols, but I assume that no one has a problem with it, and in the future I won't do that again. I'll make sure that everybody gets informed ahead of time. So, whereas April is traditionally observed as Genocide Awareness Month, and whereas the City Council of the City of Calabasas affirms its unwavering commitment to the dignity, safety, and well-being of all people, and whereas throughout history, communities around the world have endured profound acts of violence, persecution, and injustice, including those experienced during the Jewish Holocaust, the Armenian Genocide, and other dark chapters that have caused immeasurable loss and suffering. And whereas it is appropriate to remember and honor the victims of these tragedies, to uplift the voices of survivors, and to recognize the enduring strength and resilience of those who carry these histories forward. And whereas the city of Calabasas stands firmly against all forms of hate, including anti-Semitism, racism, intolerance, and bigotry in any form, and rejects actions or rhetoric that seek to divide or dehumanize others, and whereas education and awareness are essential tools in preventing hatred and violence, and the principle of never again calls upon all people to foster understanding, empathy, and vigilance against injustice, and whereas the diverse communities that call Calabasas home enrich the city's cultural, civic, and social fabric, strengthening our shared commitment to mutual respect and peaceful coexistence, and whereas the City Council recognizes that building a safe and inclusive community requires ongoing effort, dialogue, and a shared responsibility to uphold the values of respect, compassion, and unity, and whereas there has been an alarming increase in incidents of hate crimes both nationally and internationally in recent years, now therefore the City Council of the City of Calabasas does hereby denounce hate in all its forms and reaffirms its commitment to promoting understanding, inclusivity, and goodwill among all residents. We encourage all members of the community to reflect upon the lessons of history, to stand against intolerance, and to work collectively toward a more just and compassionate future for all. So this certificate here says all that. We will make sure that it gets posted and on our website. Thank you, everybody. We're going to open up for comments, but I did have a couple of comments I want to make myself. First of all, there are some sad recent examples of this, and I'm going to give you two of them. They are by no means the only ones, but they're just by way of examples of things that we've seen in recent years. You know, this country, I don't know if you guys know, I knew this, but I don't know if you guys knew, but this Armenia, the Republic of Armenia, the first republic after World War I, was a protectorate of the United States. And unfortunately, we entered a period of isolationism, and Armenia was invaded and destroyed, only to come back after in 1991. In recent years, we've seen the invasion of an entire Armenian province, ethnic cleansing and depopulation of that province, and whereas the United States recognizes the Armenian genocide and has spoken out against that kind of thing, nothing really was done, and no one really said much of anything. And now an area that Armenians lived in for thousands of years, since time it was recorded, has no Armenians in it, and they are entirely displaced. It is very sad that those kinds of things go on in today's world, and very little is said and done about it, which is one example. I have another example. This came to me from somebody who is not Jewish, by the way, just in case anyone was wondering. And I shared it with one of my colleagues up here. I'm going to read you this synopsis of something that happened at UCLA, which is an institution where I went, and several of us went, and my family, multi-generation, past tense, has gone to. UCLA's undergraduate student government condemned the campus event featuring former Israeli hostage Omer Shem Tov, labeling the Hillel organized program, quote, selective platforming of narratives to obscure the broader reality of ongoing state violence and a troubling disregard for Palestinian life. The council, which represents over 29,000 undergraduates, condemned the April 14th event held on Yom HaShoah, excuse my pronunciation.
Very good.
Titled, quote, 505 Days in Captivity, Omer Shem Tov's Testimony of Resilience. Shem Tov was kidnapped by Hamas from the Nova Music Festival on October 7th, 2023, and held captive in Gaza for 505 days. The best part is coming. UCLA Hillel Executive Director Daniel Gold stated, quote, Hillel at UCLA would like to apologize for absolutely nothing. So let me just say, before I open it up to my colleagues, when I read things like that, and this was, again, given to me by somebody who wasn't Jewish, who distributed it to a group of people who weren't Jewish, none of them, and all of us reacted in the same way. This is kind of disgusting to read. We have an October 7th unprovoked attack where people were murdered, kidnapped, raped, tortured, and held hostage. And one of the hostages comes to our public institution supported by our public dollars, including many Calabasas people who either went there or have children going there, and the person is not welcome on the campus. To me, that's disgusting. Even though I don't have a personal connection, it's disgusting. And that's why this kind of resolution is necessary, to show where Calabasas stands in today's world when we see those kinds of things. I'm going to turn it over to anyone who would like to say something, Alicia.
I just wanted to say, first, thank you to Christy for helping us put this resolution together. Really appreciate it. And it's just so important that we continue to speak out against all forms of atrocities and bring that conversation forward about the Armenian genocide, about the Holocaust, about all forms of hate, because we have to continue talking about them so people don't accept what's happening at UCLA again. I mean, that was just a gut punch again from what's happening there. But the fact that we continue to be united in denouncing hate and affirming human dignity just says so much about our community and how people work together in this community, live together in this community, and really support each other. And I'm continuing to be so proud of the work of our city council and city staff in fostering that. So thank you.
Peter?
Yeah, I would also like to share a few thoughts on this. To begin with, I find it very intriguing that, hate, when expressed against the Jewish community, has a term, anti-Semitism. Why is that so prevalent that it has its own term? When we look at hate crimes against other ethnicities, against other nationalities, against other religions, it's just called hate. Makes you wonder. I'm also very proud of this resolution that we've put together here for another reason, and that is because we here in Calabasas, we have a large Jewish community, but we have to recognize that we have a diverse community of all sorts of people that make up our community. And the Armenian population might be one, and not too long ago we were looking at hate crimes against Asians. It's prolific. There's just no place for hate in Calabasas. This is a community where we should be welcoming and open towards all, and I, for one, am very proud of this council for taking a stand on that. And I hope that we'll see a day when all of this comes true, when all of this becomes the norm, when the headlines don't read hate any longer. And if this is a small step in that direction, I'm proud of the council for taking it.
Thank you, Peter. Ed?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank both of you for your comments so far. It's been uncomfortable living with hate my whole life. Many of us that suffer from it suffer either directly or indirectly. So I was fortunate not to suffer directly from it, but indirectly I feel for my religious supporters, and I find it hard to imagine that in a society like we have right now with media and information and the opportunity to learn, we have learned nothing over all these centuries. Here we are back at ground zero. The Jews were slaves to the Egyptians, helping to build the pyramids, and you look back and snap your fingers, and here we are in 2025, and nothing has changed. All that, it's pretty sad. But we continue to persevere. We, as a culture, really help people as much as we can in many, many ways, not to look like good people, but because we are inherently are and feel and suffer for those that are equally in difficult circumstances. So I'm just hopeful. I live my life and hoping that little by little, each little brick that I can add on top of the wall to protect others as well will get stronger and bigger. So thank you for this proclamation, and maybe we'll have a reminder every year. Would be a good idea.
David?
Thank you, and I join all my colleagues in supporting this, and thankful that we have a council that does this. And it's not the first time, it won't be the last time, unfortunately, or fortunately. We have spoken out, we've done prior proclamations as a council against, as mentioned, AAPI, and against all types of hate anywhere not just in this city. Speaking out, hate definitely has no place in this city. And the fact that we bring up the Armenian genocide, we bring up the Holocaust, we bring up atrocities all over the world, it's important because if you don't educate and you don't talk about it, then future generations may never hear about it, they may never know about it, and there's the opposite communication going out, which basically may say these things didn't occur or something else occurred. So speaking out with the truth, to me, has a lot of importance and a lot of power. And I think this is something, I know we do many proclamations we have in the past, and we will continue to, speaking out against hate of any kind. The UCLA event, unfortunately, having 3 children who went through 3 different universities and dealt with the same type of issue that came up at UCLA, going back to the 2010 and beyond. It's nothing new, it just usually isn't necessarily publicized, or it's become more prevalent, or people feel they can be very outspoken with their hate of any kind. And the more we have the ability to speak out, I'll go anywhere to speak against hate, anti-Semitism, or otherwise. So it's just an opportunity we have, and I thank you for doing this. I'm glad we are doing it. Thanks for putting it together, and I love Ed's comment that someday, hopefully, we wouldn't have to. That would be nice.
Thank you. And I have no comments from the public on this, so we will move on to council announcements. Peter?
Sure, we'll do the most important one first. For those of you in council chambers tonight who don't get enough of local government, we have a budget committee on Monday at 2 o'clock. Our budget committee is open to the public. We did that about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now, just to make sure that our community has an option to find out where the money's going and give us input early on in the budget process so that we can direct taxpayer funds to where the community wants them to be spent. So if you're interested in learning more, 2 o'clock right here in council chambers. Thank you.
Ed?
Thank you. I got a little variety of the announcements tonight, but first and most exciting is that we have a Shell station on Mulholland Highway, and there was a Powerball winner at that station. It wasn't anybody here, or that person would be on vacation now. $2.24 million here in Calabasas at the Shell station, and it's nice to know. So, and also hip hip hooray to the girls track team. They don't get a lot of attention or notoriety, but they're alive and well. On this past Saturday, the girls relay track team competed at the 66th annual Mount Sac Invitational Relays and won the 4x100 race in record time. So kudos to the girls track team. And then, of course, we had Earth Day this past Saturday for environmental awareness. There were a lot of people that attended. It's really got a lot of attention, and it's a nice variety of booths to circulate through, and I hope everybody enjoyed it that attended, and maybe we'll, if you didn't, view it next year. Thank you.
David?
Thank you. And yes, they actually, Ed, they have the, I think, second fastest time in the country, which is unbelievable. They're fun to watch. Just wanted to mention, again, thank you to Melanie, Curtis, and staff for an amazing job on Earth Day. It was really well attended. Great event for the city and the community, who everyone has showed up. So thank you for that. Attended on behalf of our COG, the groundbreaking for the broadband connectivity for all 5 of our cities in the region, and that was exciting. And a number of us attended also the groundbreaking for the Pure Water Project. And then I will jump to, I'll leave the rest for everybody else. The Chamber Law Day is here. Since I don't see Mark, I'll announce it. May 1st is Law Day in Calabasas. And if you have any questions about law, anything at all that you need answered, please contact the Chamber, make an appointment. There are attorneys providing free, I repeat, free legal service, free legal advice, let me rephrase that, on Law Day, May 1st. So that is, you need to sign up in advance and tell them the area of interest you have. Thank you very much.
Alicia?
I love going last. All the announcements are taken, but I just wanted to thank Curtis and Melanie for a great Earth Day for the city. It was really well attended.
Yes, and the only one I have a couple. The only one I really have is a butterfly garden. Did somebody say that? I don't think, I listened for
Yeah.
that. I have two. The butterfly garden is a local pollination garden that was dedicated yesterday at the Calabasas Bark Park, which we rent from the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District. It was a great ceremony, and it shows again our dedication to restoring and keeping the natural environment. So thank you to the Water District for their partnership with us. It has lasted almost exactly 27 years over there. The 27th Annual Calabasas Wine Tasting and Silent Auction will take place here at the Calabasas Civic Center on Thursday, May 7th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. So that's done through the Chamber of Commerce. You can get your tickets through the chamber or at the door, preferably early. I think they're cheaper. And then I also wanted to ask Christy if she would just briefly, because we're not going to meet before May 5th, to remind everybody about election procedures and where they can cast their ballots.
Yes, thank you, sir. To date, we've received over 2,000 ballots and are in the process of signature verification. So kudos to our community for a good turnout already. You can return your ballots, postage paid by mail. You can drop them off at 2 different ballot drop boxes. One is inside City Hall and open during business hours, and the other is located curbside in front of City Hall and the library. And just a quick reminder to residents to sign their return envelopes so that we can do our signature verification process. We do get several that are unsigned, so just a reminder to go ahead and sign those return envelopes. And more information can be found at the city's website at www.cityofcalabasas.com/elections.
Okay. And this is in reference to our special election that we're holding. It's an all mail-in ballot, so you have to do it by mail. And if they spoil their ballot, they can come, of course, and get another one from you. Don't vote twice, but you can get another ballot if you wrecked yours. Okay, so we're going to move on to public comment. Now is the time for members of the public who wish to speak on any item not on the agenda. You will have 3 minutes or less to speak on an item that is pertinent to the council's business. You do need to fill out a speaker card, which is located in the back. I have several already, and we'll start calling on them. First, we have Dr. Marilyn Stoltzman.
I am Dr. Marilyn Stolzman, and I'm Vice President of Oak Creek HOA on Park Sorrento. I want to talk to you about the erosion on the section of McCoy Creek that lies on our property. Several years ago, we were sued by Canyon Creek and asked to take care of the erosion in the creek for safety and protection. Originally, we were told by our lawyer that it was the responsibility of LA County, but that was not accurate. Our next lawyer eventually helped us settle the case. We are a small complex of 17 units with a majority of elderly people on fixed income, and for many, this expense is a hardship. We have concerns about our property value. There is no insurance to cover erosion. The insurance covered the legal fees from the other side. The Calabasas maps that are shown on the City of Calabasas site show that when there are heavy rains, the overflow from Calabasas Lake runs through our property. This has been confirmed by a retired surveyor of the city. There is a large pipe on the east bank that drains into our creek from the runoff upstream. This has increased our erosion. In 1998, and this article appeared in the LA Times, crews shore up McCoy Creek with boulders and sandbags. After heavy rain, the California Conservation Corps and the LA County Department of Public Works bolstered the banks of McCoy Creek. Workers strengthened the embankment near Old Town's Finn's Restaurant, which is currently Peddler's Fork. Crews used boulders to brace the Calabasas Swim and Tennis Club. Peddler's Fork is to the left of us, and the Calabasas Swim and Tennis Club is to the right of us. We are in the middle. It was a gross oversight to not include our section of McCoy Creek. We are a small part of a bigger picture. In the creek analysis section on the city site, it states, quote, "All projects are generally located on property not owned by the city. Large reaches of the creek within city limits are on private property. Therefore, implementation of the proposed projects will require extensive coordination with property owners," end quote. This was not done. I am asking the city to consider helping us financially, since the cost will be well over $425,000. We have done the hydraulic reports and the soil samples to determine density. At this point, plans have been submitted to the city, Shot Creek,
Okay.
on the walls. We have trimmed some protective
Can
oaks.
you wrap up your comments?
It's the last sentence.
Okay.
Which we're leaning too far using a certified arborist. Thank you for your consideration on behalf of our community. Thank you, Peter Kraut, for walking our property.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. And Kendon, her contact information is on the card, and there are some pertinent documents that I recall from 1998 that may help. Okay, we can't discuss it here because it's not on the agenda. We can't discuss it here because it's not on the agenda, but someone will be in touch with you. Perhaps if we can find them with some pertinent documents. Next is Jorge Padilla, just your name and city of residence. Hi.
How's it going? I am on representation of the city of Calabasas down by Deer/Lost Springs. I am more of a representation of my father, who wanted to be here but could not due to circumstances. But he wanted to talk mainly about the water within our neighborhoods and maybe within the city of Calabasas. Recently, within the last 6 months, about 8 different houses, water pipes have been bursting. So we wanted to maybe assumed it was roughly the age, all of them bursting kind of roughly the same time. But after kind of looking and dealing with our own hose that also bursted, we saw a form of calcium building up faster than usual. So he wanted to come and just acknowledge, put down something to see if we can maybe get an investigation or just check to see if maybe something recently within the water doing with it, maybe bursting the pipes. It's kind of a weird kind of coincidence within the last 6 months. So within this, it's just mainly to check and just put it out there to see before maybe more houses having to deal with it, or if it is kind of age to kind of just give our neighborhood a, hey, better check on the situation. That's pretty much what I have for today.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Dorina Shajari.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dorina Shajari, and I am a Calabasas resident as well as a small business owner. I was recently appointed to the Calabasas Community Foundation, and I spend my time volunteering with EPIC, educating residents on emergency preparedness, and at the senior center wherever I'm needed. As a lifelong resident, being on the other side of it all now, volunteering, being involved, and showing up, I have started to see things so much differently. These systems don't just exist. They're built, maintained, and protected by people who show up every day and genuinely care. When we talk about Measure K, we're talking about a 1-cent local tax that would stay here in Calabasas and support the things that we experience, enjoy, and love every single day. the way this city looks and feels, how clean, how green the condition of our parks, streets, facilities, and our safety. None of that happens by accident. It takes intention, resources, and teamwork to maintain that standard. I think sometimes there's an expectation that things should just be that way. Like it's automatic, but I'm here to remind my peers that it's not. It starts with us as residents understanding what it takes to actually sustain it. So, it's not about whether we pay that 1 cent increase. It's about whether we keep that funding locally, where it directly supports our community and the quality of life that we value, or allow it to be absorbed elsewhere. The only truth I can speak on is what I've seen. From being present and involved, I see that the council, as residents, understands this community, and the staff shows that same level of care and commitment. If we meet that with the same awareness and intention, it only strengthens what we already have. So tonight, I encourage my peers, parents with adult children, and anyone who loves this city as much as I do, to take the time to learn, ask questions, be curious, and stay connected to what's happening locally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Would anyone else like to speak on an item not on the agenda? If not, then we will move on to our consent calendar, items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I need to pull item number 6 because there's a speaker card. Would anyone else like any other item pulled? In that case, may I have a motion to approve items 1 through 5?
So moved.
Okay, Weintraub, Albrecht, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously, 5-0. We're going to move on to item 6, and my card is from Joe Chilko.
Good evening. I'm Joe Chilko, a longtime resident. With regard to AB 1768, I'd like to make some statements and ask some questions. I would appreciate a response on them. They're mostly informational. If we hope to mobilize residents, they need to be provided with actions they can take. A talking points summary would be helpful. Los Angeles County has a population of 9,694,934. It's approximately 25% of the total population of 39.5 million the state currently estimates. Allowing a county with that large a population to have a carve-out is putting a tax burden on a sizable portion of the California population. The counties of California are apparently local arms of the state of California, and as the Supreme Court of California describes them, they're agents of them. So I'm concerned that this could be interpreted to mean that if the state wants it, then it's the state that is effectively raising the cap, and it is responsible for the increase in sales tax. It's a broken promise to have set a cap and then allow certain counties to exceed it. Are there legal grounds for not allowing carve-outs? Who will the city's opposition letter be sent to? Are each of the 15 cities you're aware are opposing submitting individually? Or are they all being submitted together as a group in solidarity? There are 88 cities in LA County. Any thoughts on why the others aren't submitting letters of opposition? Current terms of office for Ben Allen and Jackie Irwin end in December 2026. However, Jackie is running for California's 26th congressional district, and Ben is a candidate for California Insurance Commissioner in the June 2026 primary. This would be a good time to send them emails urging their opposition to AB 1768. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other cards. I should have announced that this is item 6 is opposition to AB 1768, which is the Los Angeles County transaction and use taxes raising of the cap, which I didn't announce ahead of time. I'm going to open it up to comments from the council, but let me start because he asked. I will answer some of his questions. Yes, numerous cities have passed resolutions opposed to this. Many organizations have, including the League of California Cities Los Angeles County Division, which represents all of the cities in Los Angeles County. They voted. I was proud to be part of that vote. The California Contract Cities Association has also taken a position opposed. There's a long list, and there's a running list, and I don't think there might be one or two cities that didn't take a position or after they voted, or one may have taken a position in favor, but everyone else has been opposed. What that does, I don't know. This is yet another thing that LA County does not need. The last time they tried to assess, Kendon, I think we did a study, and for every $1 million of Calabasas money that went downtown to Los Angeles County, we got 60-something thousand back. What was it, 63,000?
So for Measure A, we estimate about 13 million goes from the 5 COG cities, and we receive about 300,000 back for the 5 COG cities to share.
Okay, so there's your stats. Goes into a vortex that the LA County slurps down, and we get dribbled back, basically. So that's why I think we should oppose this. And that was my comment. I'll start. Ed, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, there's a knee-jerk reaction, I think, that most people have when the word taxes come out, especially raised taxes. It's just a natural motion. But personally, I'm not against taxes when I understand the purpose behind it. There are some good taxes. Taxes for education, where schools do need some help. Populations grow. Student bodies need to have the services and the teachers and the buildings, the air conditioning. I can go on and on. The reasons for a good tax. But what I've seen, and all of us have seen in the city, in the county of Los Angeles, is abuse of the funds. I'm not going to go into the long list, but I'll just start with the first one, and that's money going out the window for homelessness and no results. So if I saw some purpose behind it, the only thing I would ask would be to see some results that were positive, but this doesn't do us any good, it doesn't do the county any good, and it's not a solution, and this is not a Band-Aid to solve problems.
David?
Just a quick question. I know you can explain this, because I see the letter, I understand. 2 questions, actually. Did our COG, of all 5 cities in our COG, supported or done independent letters or potentially done a joint letter on this?
Independent letters.
Okay. And then I know there is a tax measure the county has out for June. This is not that tax measure, has nothing to do with that tax measure, correct?
No, it does have something
Yeah.
to do with it.
That's exactly what it is, the ER.
Well, it's
because-
not ER. It will raise the cap because 80 of the 88 cities, 60 of them have a transaction and use tax.
Right.
So LA County is already against the cap on those. So even if LA County passes a tax, they won't affect those 60 cities,
Yep.
basically. So this would raise it another cent so they could get an additional cent out of those cities, or a half cent.
Understand. And the draft letter in here is what, it was not sent, it's obviously what we're talking about sending.
If you have suggestions, we can change it. If it has not been, no, it hasn't been sent.
Right.
Would you,
Okay.
is
No,
there,
no,
we can discuss it here.
I think the letter states, it's pretty clear. And I know I've seen other letters from other cities as well that have gone out, so they're similar.
It should also go out, looking at it again, to just the assembly, whatever it is, recording officer, so that, because this is just going to our office. So it's part of the assembly record, right?
So, Mayor and Council, if I could provide some clarification on the letter. First of all, I think the draft indicates that it goes to Jackie Irwin. This is, again, the draft. What we're requesting is that it is also sent to other legislators, including this next Monday, the Assembly Revenue and Tax Committee will be meeting on and having a hearing on this item. So our request is not just that it's sent to Assemblymember Irwin, but Senator Allen, the Revenue Tax Committee, any other legislators that would be handling this. To your point, Councilman, the letter as drafted is very simplified. We started with a much more comprehensive letter and chose to simplify it. And the reason being is several other cities had written letters of opposition, but it included a message or a component that was directly opposed to the county's sales tax ER, that is on the June 2nd election. As I read through the legislation is very clear. It's triggered by ER, but it's not tied to ER. So in essence, even if the county's measure does not pass in June, this legislation could still go forward because as written, it says that it could be written to open up that half-cent cap for subsequent taxes initiated by the county. Right. And so we simplified it to not tie it to the county's measure.
Right, that's what I wanted to make sure of, because I would have liked to have heard discussion if it was about ER for both sides, but I am fine with this and supporting this at this time.
Alicia?
AB 1768 is exactly the type of legislation that is pushing people to leave California. Like it's unbelievable that this is even being considered. So not only is the county trying to put Measure ER forward, which will take money from Calabasas and all the other cities and bring nothing in return, but then they're going to the state legislature to try to change the rules and raise the cap. There are already cities in LA County that are at the cap. They're paying 10.75% of sales tax. And the County of Los Angeles has gone to the state and has said, we need to raise that cap. It is so beyond ridiculous and bad government and everything that's wrong with the state. And I think to answer Joe's question, cities are furious about this. And there's a lot of letters being sent, organizations speaking out, but it's important also for residents to pay attention to this, call their legislators, send an email, and let them know. I mean, there's cities that would be impacted that they don't even know that this is happening. I mean, it is like happening, in my opinion, kind of behind the closed door, and just, it's almost like a form of corruption, truly. And it's just everything that is wrong with California. So I hope that AB 1768 is defeated and that the message is loud and clear, that people need to operate within their means for LA County.
Peter?
Thank you. I'll just add on to what my colleagues have said. If, let's say, you wanted to pass a tax for a special use, let's say healthcare, and you want it to be a short-term tax to solve a short-term problem, let's say 5 years, and you wanted it to be above the cap of 10.75, there's a process for doing that. It already exists today. You put it out as a special use tax, and you need a vote of 2/3 of the people. And what LA County has done instead is tried to pass a general use tax, which requires 50% of the people, and then simultaneously get some legislation through Sacramento to raise the cap. They're taking a shortcut process because they know they don't have the support of 2/3 of their constituents. And this process just, it needs to be stopped. This is not the way that we should be governing our people. This is not the way we should be managing our taxes. And as has been mentioned already, so many communities are already at the 10.75% cap. And there's a reason that our legislation was structured this way. So I am completely in favor of this letter, and I would encourage all residents to start reaching out to their representatives.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could add something, and this goes to Councilmember Weintraub's point about and Councilmember Crowd's point about the sneakiness of Sacramento. I spoke with our Representative Jeff Kiernan from the League of California Cities, and he's mentioned in conversations with people in Sacramento that there's an effort now to move this to a budget trailer bill, so it would then be hidden or submarined inside the budget bill and then passed through this Assembly, Senate, and into the governor's desk without it even having a number. Hence the reason we put on there any subsequent legislation that attempts to enact the same type of thing.
Okay. All right, if there are no other comments, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved. I'll make the motion to oppose AB 1768, County of Los Angeles transaction and use taxes.
I'll second that.
Okay, that's Weintraub, Kraut. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, so it's 5-0 passes. We'll move on to item number 7. This is a public hearing for the objective design standards for multifamily and mixed-use projects. The report was authored by Michael Klein, Tom Bartlett, Jacqueline Rackerby, who are all here. Welcome. Are you doing this PowerPoint tonight? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. For your consideration tonight, we have the objective design standards for multifamily and mixed-use development. So first, just a little bit of legal background on why the city is required to implement objective design standards. Objective design standard is defined under state law as a design standard that involves no personal or subjective judgment by a public official and is uniformly verifiable by reference to an external and uniform benchmark or criterion available and knowable by both the development applicant or proponent and the public official before submittal of an application. And state law stipulates that where housing is an allowable use, a city cannot impose or enforce design standards established on or after January 1st, 2020 that are not objective design standards. State law also requires cities to streamline the approval of certain housing projects by providing a ministerial approval process. So in summary, under state law, a city has to apply only objective standards and a ministerial process in its review of multifamily housing projects. And there are multiple different state laws that have amended the government code in recent years that require cities to provide ODS, including the Housing Accountability Act, SB 330 or the Housing Crisis Act, SB 35, and AB 2011. Additionally, our own housing element requires the implementation of objective design standards. Within the city's 2021-2029 housing element, Policy 5-18 requires that we promote the timely processing and approval of residential projects that comply with all regulatory requirements. One of our 2021 to 2029 objectives is to research and develop objective design and development standards for qualifying multifamily and mixed-use development to streamline the review process, to provide greater certainty to developers, and to facilitate development on housing element sites. So in regards to our objective design standard preparation process, a little bit of background. The first step is that the Planning Commission discussed potential options for objective design standards preparation back in 2024. The Planning Commission reviewed examples that staff had provided from other cities, and then the Commission provided direction and requested that the proposed objective design standards for Calabasas address topics including building articulation, massing and bulk, different architectural styles for the different regions of the city, colors and materials, trees and landscaping, outdoor space, window styles, sustainability, and lastly, site design standards. Based on that direction from the Commission back in 2024, we contracted with John Kaliski Architects, or JKA, an architecture and urban design firm with experience preparing ODS in other cities, and we began the process of preparing our objective design standards. The next step was research. JKA met with planning staff multiple times and reviewed existing documents, including the municipal code, the general plan, applicable master plans, and toured the city with staff. They'll explain a little bit more of this and a bit more of this background in their presentation as well. Our next step is outreach. We conducted community web surveys. We held joint meetings of the Planning Commission and the Architecture Review Panel to receive feedback on the early draft ODS matrix. And we held a community forum to receive input and to address any questions from the community. Final step is public hearings and adoption. So at a public hearing on March 19th, 2026, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the ODS with several edits. Our consultant will elaborate on those edits when they go over the document in more detail. But the Commission's edits have been incorporated into the updated ODS before you tonight. Then the final steps are introduction of the ordinance by the City Council at a public hearing tonight, followed by adoption of the ordinance at a future meeting. So what are objective design standards? Objective design standards are predictable and easy to interpret objective requirements for multifamily and mixed-use projects. Design guidelines are subjective, they're recommendations only, and they're open to interpretation. They're not measurable. They're should statements that are adopted by resolution. By contrast, design standards are objective. They are requirements that are enforceable as required standards. They're measurable and verifiable. They are shall statements, and they are adopted by ordinance. An example here, you can see this image on the right. So our municipal code currently includes design guidelines that discourage blank facades, but there's no measurable standard associated with that. So this example is from our proposed ODS and includes a specific percentage for this wall, this minor massing wall, to take up out of the total building facade. So that sets a specific objective standard that a project would need to comply with rather than just a general guideline that discourages blank walls. And in order to adopt the ODS, amendments to the Calabasas Municipal Code are required. Number one would be adding section 17.12.147 to the municipal code regarding objective design standards. This new section would define ODS, it would set applicability, filing procedures, and review and decision process for ODS permits. It also adopts the actual ODS document by reference. The ODS will be a standalone document, but it is still required standards under the municipal code. The Commission did have one recommended edit to the ordinance, which was specifically a change to subsection I within the ordinance, which would allow the director flexibility to update the tree and plant list in the future as necessary, based on potential future new fire department or Las Virgenes Municipal Water District regulations regarding trees and plants. And that edit has been incorporated in the draft ordinance before you tonight. The second amendment would be revising section 17.12.145 of the municipal code regarding multifamily housing to address a conflict regarding the definition of common outdoor space. ODS 2.2.9 requires 50 square feet of passive amenity space per dwelling unit, and passive amenities include things like picnic shelters, gazebos, and fountains, as you can see in this photo on the right. The revision to the text of 17.12.145 would ensure that passive amenity space will count towards common outdoor space required for multifamily housing, since under the current definition of common outdoor space, passive amenity space would be excluded. So the revision would just ensure the two align with each other. In regards to the process for applicable projects, when a new multifamily or mixed-use housing project is submitted to the city, the objective design standards will be applicable to the project, and staff will evaluate compliance of the project in regards to the ODS. If the project includes any deviation from the objective design standards, either via a waiver, a concession, an incentive, or even a variance, the project will be subject to Planning Commission review and decision regarding that deviation from the ODS. And I do want to clarify, if the waiver is from a development standard, such as height, and not an objective design standard, but all objective design standards are complied with, then the second path on the right here would apply. And the second path is that if the project complies with all objective design standards with no deviations, then the project would go through a ministerial approval at a director level with no public hearing required. And I want to clarify that's no architecture review panel, no planning commission, no city council for any project that complies with every single objective design standard with no deviations requested. So staff concludes that the city is required to apply only objective standards for its review of mixed-use and multifamily housing projects pursuant to state law. And the ODS document was prepared based on feedback from the community, the ARP, and the Planning Commission. And you can just see this photo here is from one of the joint study sessions of the ARP and the PC. So staff recommends that the council introduce and conduct first reading, waiving full reading of the text of ordinance number 2026-424, adding section 17.12.147 of the Calabasas Municipal Code regarding objective design standards, and amending section 17.12.145 to align the existing section with the proposed ODS. Staff also recommends that the council schedule the ordinance for consideration of adoption at the May 27th, 2026 council meeting. Additionally, staff recommends that the council find the project exempt from environmental review in accordance with section 15601, general rural exemption of the CEQA guidelines. And lastly, that the council adopt resolution number 2026-2004 to amend the citywide fee schedule to establish a fee in the amount of $16,676 for the new permit type, the Objective Design Review Permit, which would align the new permit fee with the cost of the existing site plan review permit fee for multifamily and mixed-use development per the city's fee schedule. Thank you, and before any action is taken, the city's consultant, JKA, has prepared a presentation as well, and they'll be able to explain in more detail the actual document and how it will be utilized.
Okay. Is that queued up?
Yes, we'll bring it up right now.
Okay. Could you please introduce yourself and whom you represent?
Yeah, of course. My name is Ami Bhatt. I'm the Director of Urban Design at John Kaliske Architects, JKA. I'm here with my colleagues today. There's John Kaliske and Daisy Sun, and also attending virtually is Gary Lai. He's a landscape architect that contributed to the appendix of this document, which consists of a tree and plant palette. So any questions you would have related to that, he is on standby.
Okay, this is also within the packet then. Do you have this? Oh, it's up here too, okay.
Okay. So as Jacqueline mentioned, we'd like to walk through in more detail the actual Objective Design Standards document tonight. Before I begin that, I wanted to kind of go over some of the project objectives and tasks that we were assigned by city staff. The first was we wanted to explore and define what Calabasas built form and environmental design character was. We'd done that through 2 cities tours with staff. Staff was very kind to take us around to understand the multifamily and mixed-use character of this community, and then again to understand the landscape character of this community. The second task was to optimize engagement with stakeholders, city staff, and decision makers. It was important for us to not only learn from staff, but to hear from you all and the community as well. We'd done that in multiple ways, as Jacqueline mentioned earlier. There was a citywide survey that was released to get feedback at the start of the project. We met with the Architectural Review Panel and the Planning Commission on 2 separate occasions throughout the process. We've had a community workshop in October, and we've had this public hearing process. The last goal is to take everything that we've heard and everything that we've learned and translate those values into objective design standards that represent and enhance Calabasas' identity and character.
Can I ask you to, as we go through these slides?
Sure.
I've noticed in here, some of these slides are very, very small. So I'm hoping we're not going to be reading every little thing here. I mean, because honestly, the audience won't be able to follow it, even print it out. I mean, you can see how small it is, much less on the screen. It's not readable.
Sure. I'm happy to read it out loud if that's
No,
what you prefer.
I meant the opposite. I mean,
Okay.
if you can summarize, because we'll never
Absolutely.
get through it. It's a lot of text.
Sure. Absolutely.
I just don't think anyone could follow it because it's just not written out in a way that we can read it.
Sure.
It's not a criticism, it's just if you could summarize it rather than just simply reading all these slides.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'll keep going. So the project timeline just kind of is a visual depiction of the stuff that we've done to get to this point. This has been a year-long process. We began in March of 2025, so that's about 13 months to get to this point. So the document, this is kind of the cover of it. This is what it looks like. Within it, there are 4 chapters. There's a user guide chapter. There is a site and open space objective design standards chapter, a massing and bulk ODS chapter, and our chapter 4, which is building architecture in detail, is split into 2 different sections. That is for Calabasas regional architecture and Old Town Calabasas architecture. I'm going to go through all of this in a little bit more detail throughout the presentation. And then at the very back of the document is our appendix that consists of a tree and a plant palette. So in the document, we have a form about how to use the document for applicants. And to quickly go through that, the first step is to make sure that this project is a multifamily and mixed-use project that they're referring to. If their project is single-family or any other use, that is not applicable to these standards. The second thing that we'd ask applicants to understand is whether the project is in a commercial Old Town zone. If it is, when they get to Chapter 4, they would comply with the standards of the Old Town Calabasas architecture. If they're anywhere else in the city and not in the Old Town zone, they would comply with the chapter about Calabasas regional architecture. Regardless of the location of the project, they would have to be in compliance with Chapters 2 and 3, and those are the site and open space standards and the massing and bulk standards. So in the first chapter, the user guide is really an introductory chapter, and we ask applicants to go through it to kind of understand Calabasas character, the two different styles that we're calling Calabasas regional and what Old Town is, and just an overall understanding of how to use the document. So the document is organized in this particular format for all objective design standards. On the leftmost side is the checklist portion of it. So an applicant would be able to read the objective design standard and indicate for each one whether or not they're compliant with it, if it's not applicable, and if they are compliant, what sheet number as part of their project, the design standard, they can prove compliance with that design standard. City staff, when they do their review, would look at the same document, and they have their own column to the left that lets them also confirm compliance, and if it's not compliant, they can indicate that right on the same page. Within each standard, there's occasionally an option for menus, and we say that in the sense that the particular objective design standard may say, pick 2 of the following to indicate compliance with this standard. So there is a checklist portion indicated with that standard so that they can show the 2 that they've selected out of a larger list of standards. And then all the way to the right, there's some sort of visual that hopefully helps better explain the standard, whether that's a diagram or a precedent image. Chapter 2 is our site and open space chapter. There are 3 subsections within it. We talk about site design, landscape design, and parking design. An example of that is shown here. It's about canopy trees, and we say that 1 canopy tree per every 20 feet of public street-facing frontages. There's a diagram that kind of shows that example. And then another example about canopy tree location is saying that 30% of canopy trees shall be within 20 feet of a public right-of-way. There are also standards about canopy tree selection, and I'm showing this particular example because within it, we say that 80% of the total number of canopy trees shall be selected from section A2, which is our appendix. So occasionally in this chapter, we tell applicants to look at the appendix and select trees and plants from that particular palette to be in compliance with the standard. So the appendix has 5 different sections. We have an introductory section and then palettes for trees, shrubs, perennials and grasses, and ground cover. The tree and plant list is laid out in this particular way. To the left, you have the botanical name and common name of the species that's permitted. We also indicate the water requirement, just so those are aware which plants, are low to high water requirements. Within that checklist, they can indicate the number of trees that they provided and, of course, what sheet number that proves compliance with that standard. There's also a massing in bulk chapter, and within this, we have standards that relate to modulation, for example. This is one of the ones where I mentioned that they may select 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how tall their building is, to be compliant with the standard. So it's a long list. I will not read every single one of these, but if you're a 2-story building, you have to pick 2 of the following standards, and that can be anywhere from recessing the facade, like Jacqueline mentioned, the minor and major massing, indicating a tower element, setbacks, so on. The 4th chapter I mentioned was in 2 parts. There's a Calabasas regional architecture, and that's for any project that's being built outside of Old Town. And then there's a subchapter specifically for Old Town architecture. These are designed to be written in the same way. So each section has standards for roofs, windows and doors, entry elements, building ornamentation and attachments, building materials, and then a color palette. An example of that is shown on here. It's basically showing the same standard, which is ornamentation exterior features, but in Calabasas Regional, the list that they have to provide a minimum of one of is different than the list in Old Town, which has different options because the ornamentation and the exterior features that are required for an Old Town specific project, which has a very distinct style, is different from the rest of the city. And to end this, we spoke to the Planning Commission last month, and the document that they saw versus the document that you guys have in front of you today is subtly different. The major changes include a standard for allowing artificial turf for pet runs. We had to prohibit cupolas. We had to add white to the color palette, but not a bright white for primary wall options in the Calabasas regional section. They also wanted white for gutters, doors, windows, and accent colors in both Calabasas regional and Old Town Calabasas architecture. And then related to the appendix and the tree and the plant palette, we had to add California alder and scrub oak as two approved tree options, and then remove California fan palms, Monterey pines, and California junipers. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have, and thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I do have one speaker card, so let me do that one first, and that's Joe Choco. Anyone else wishing to speak would need to fill out a card.
Hi, I'm Joe Chilko, a longtime resident, and this is going to be short. I'm not commenting on the objective design standards because I haven't seen the entire document, so I'm anxious to see it. I have attended all the meetings with the exception of one where I was sick. I could even point you to me in the picture on one of them. But the point is this, I really liked the process. I thought it was smart to bring together the Planning Commission and ARP at the same time because they're both involved in exactly the same idea. And of course, I'm a big proponent of bringing in other areas of the city's staff and commissions to opine on these kinds of things. So I just want to say, yeah, keep doing that kind of stuff, and I'm very anxious to see the final document. I had a question about why the fee was so low, but it was answered. I guess you can't gouge them just because they're in compliance, but thank you.
Okay, we'll turn to council questions and comments. We'll start with Alicia.
I actually wanted to hear Peter's questions first,
No, that's fine.
because I saw him taking notes the whole time. I have a few, but I actually really want to hear.
All right, that's fine.
All right, I'll go first. So my fellow planning commissioner, I'll blame Alicia for appointing me to the planning commission all those years ago. First of all, I'd like to say well done. I'm excited to see this document in front of us. You know, we had an example on the screen of massing, and it really touched my heart because I remember a giant monolith coming through the Planning Commission, and when we pointed out that the requirement in our code was that the second floor shall be set back from the first, the applicant's response was, it is. We've moved it back 4 inches. And you could barely see any articulation in this massive wall. So I'm glad to see these standards. I think this is going to go a long way towards improving the quality here in Calabasas. A couple of questions, if I might. I saw in the parking standards there's a number of items. I didn't see reference to the prohibition of compact spaces. I'm sure that's still in our original code, so that still carries through. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And although that's, I think we probably need to at some point look at moving away from that. If anybody knows the history, it was proudly introduced by our founding mayor, Dennis Washburn, who was driving the world's largest Cadillac at the time, I understand, and wanted to make sure there was always room for him to get his car in. But it also, it helps us keep development right size here in Calabasas, and it makes for more of a friendly community when there's actually room to get in and out of your car. I was surprised in the mixed use, in the frontage items here, and I'll see if I can give you a page number here. Active frontage under 2.11, This is page 11 of the design standards. One of the things for active frontage, option number 4 is ground floor residential units with a minimum of one individual unit entry every 30 feet of ground floor building width. One of my biggest challenges with our mixed use is that the intention of mixed use is to create a walkable environment where there's retail or office or something on a lower floor, combined with residential units above, or something that stimulates movement within the community. And when we've had some applicants in the past propose a mixed-use project that has nothing more than residential units and a small token retail space, often placed off to the side, it just doesn't seem to accomplish what we wanted for mixed use. And I was wondering, maybe our presenter here could share with us, have you run into this in other cities, and is there any other language we might look at that would help us get more, I don't know how to describe it, a mixed-use project that has a little bit more community activity stimulated around it?
Well, it's a great question. I'm John Kaliski. I think the first thing that has to be said is that these objective design standards really don't challenge your existing development standards that you have. And this particular standard is actually the opposite. Because of the way state law is constructed, someone can propose a 100% residential project. And what we were trying to do was, in that case, ensure that there was a minimum of street frontage activity that would happen in the form of entries occurring once every 30 feet, regardless of the mix of uses that was proposed. And so this was kind of reverse logic, if you will, as opposed to encouraging people to do it, because we were worried about the circumstance where somebody proposed a project that on a ministerial path was 100% and didn't deal with the ground floor frontage to address the types of things that you're talking about.
Okay, great. I guess as long as you're at the podium, I have a related question on detached condos.
On which page?
It's not on this, actually.
Oh, what was it about
Detached
condominiums?
condominiums. We've seen this a few times here in Calabasas, where what appears to be a single-family residential neighborhood is actually on a multifamily site, and they're declared to be detached condominiums because they're sharing in the lot and individual homes outside of that. Have you run into this with your objective design standards? And again, any thoughts on how to, if we have a multifamily project that's supported by the state with all of its density bonus and everything else, the intention is, I believe, to get affordable housing, right? That's why we zone things with higher densities and multifamily, and yet we end up quite often getting projects, and we have a couple here in the city of Calabasas that we're zoned for such, and we end up with single-family residential instead. Any language that might help us in that respect?
This is really a complicated question,
Yeah,
and you've
I know.
actually zeroed in on one of the grayest areas of the way the state has done all of this stuff, which we're not responsible for, we're just reacting to. And I would say that I can only answer it very, very partially, which is that, first of all, these generally do not apply to any single-family residential areas, but depending upon, on a city-by-city basis, how they write the definition of what a multi-unit project is, it does apply to those projects. So with that as a sort of framework, I would sort of let staff answer it more completely.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that question. And I think it's a little bit more of a legal question than it is for objective design standards, as John just kind of walked through. We would look at, this would only apply to multifamily and mixed-use projects. And Jacqueline's actually pulling up the definition of multifamily. One of the things that we can confirm, or we'll look at if an ordinance were to move forward, is to make sure that our multifamily housing definition does not include or would not allow for the single detached units that you're talking about. So generally speaking, multifamily is considered a project where units are physically attached, multiple units are attached. The projects that you're describing are, although they're on a condo map, which they call a condo unit project, they are physically detached homes, so we would define those typically as single-family residence. But you do bring up a great point, and we will double-check our definitions to make sure that the definition within the municipal code is clear that a detached condo unit would not qualify as multifamily. And then that would cover it, because really this was designed for larger buildings. These standards would not apply to single-family homes.
So I appreciate the feedback, but I'll go back in history here. The colony is condos, correct?
They're condo units, but as a definition, they're still single-family because they are physically detached.
Okay. And our upcoming West Village project?
Same thing.
And again, they're built under the zoning of multifamily and take advantage of the multifamily benefits that are provided by the state for density bonuses and other concessions.
Well, and any single-family project could still benefit from density bonus regulations by the state if they provide affordable housing. Neither the colony or the West Village project are actually providing affordable housing, therefore they don't benefit from any density bonus regulations from the state.
Okay.
But technically any subdivision or any project that includes, I believe, 5 or more units, if they provide affordable housing, regardless of if they're single-family, condos, apartments, townhomes, if they provide affordable housing, they will qualify for density bonus waivers and concessions per the state laws. But what we're looking at tonight is specifically multifamily and mixed use, does not apply to single-family homes.
Okay. And so what I kind of heard, and I just want to make sure I know our path forward, are we going to go back and check our language and make sure that detached condominiums are not allowed in a multifamily zoned district?
Well, you could still theoretically under our zoning code, build detached single-family units in a multifamily residential zone, but you can't use this process to do that. You would have to go through the standard site plan review, maybe conditional use permit, scenic corridor permit process, which will go to ARP, DRC, Planning Commission, maybe City Council, depending upon the overall scope. But they wouldn't be able to use this process, the objective design standards, to move a project like that forward.
I think you were asking why.
And if they took the other process, the standard process, would we be able to enforce any non-objective standards?
Yes, as long as
As long as what?
Well, under our current regulations, I believe that we could enforce subjective standards through our architectural review panel process and planning commission.
Okay.
I don't want to guarantee how the state's going to handle things in the future, but right now, most of the state legislation is focused on multifamily and mixed use, not so much single family.
And single family, whether it's condo or not, it's usually involving a tract map, which is purely legislative. So you've got far more discretion there.
All right, I would just ask, we'll obviously be addressing the objective design standards tonight. I think if I've lifted a few rocks that we need to look under, I would just ask our planning team here to look at those, and let's make sure that we don't leave a loophole for a developer to creatively bypass these objective design standards that we put in and accomplish just exactly what we're trying to prevent.
I do have our definition pulled up. So the way that we did it is multifamily housing is defined in the ODS as, see the municipal code definition. So then the municipal code definition is long, but in regards to the detached condo units you're talking about, it includes townhouse development, parents, 3 or more attached single-family dwellings where no unit is located over one another. So if they're detached, then that doesn't fall under that definition. If it's 3 or more attached together, then that would count.
Okay. Thank
What
you
section
to
is
the
that?
community for bearing with me on this.
Just the definition section of the municipal code.
Chapter 1790.
Thank you.
Okay.
Peter, are you done?
Just one last thing, if I would, and that is objective design standards. I know they're relatively new. Could you share with us, have other communities had challenges implementing them, whether they be lawsuits or developers, finding ways around them? And what have been the lessons learned in the last year or two?
When the state of California started to adopt some of the legislation that was described earlier, where it said the only basis by which cities could evaluate certain projects with housing portions in them was with objective design standards, that was around 2017. Cities throughout California started to go through exercises like the city of Calabasas has done over the last year and a half, 2 years. And we ourselves have worked in cities throughout Southern California doing that. We're working in Laguna Beach on it. We've worked in Palm Desert on it. We did an early version of this type of work in Palmdale. We've actually worked on preliminary studies for these types of things for the city of Los Angeles. And there was actually right about the time that the city of Calabasas started your process in 2023, I think, or 24, because of the housing element, dozens of other cities were doing the same things. It became sort of an urban design boom for firms that do this type of work. Lessons learned. The main lessons learned that we've experienced going through the process with different cities is to create a mechanism within the objective design standards that gives the planning director some discretion to work with them. And we put that in here specifically for the landscape portions of it. Other cities have asked that there be some type of formal review process after a year or 5 years to make sure that if there needs to be any tweaking of them, that there is tweaking of them. I would say that's the main lesson that we've seen. In all honesty, I haven't gotten, and we haven't gotten a lot of feedback over the last couple of years of how they're working because the economy for housing has collapsed. And because of that, cities aren't getting quite as many projects in them. But we've not gotten any negative feedback in our office about the work that we've done, though we fully anticipate that there'll be tweaking of these things as cities learn from themselves.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, Ed, do you have any questions or comments?
I'm not exactly sure what questions I have right now because, a couple comments first. That is, like had been mentioned by Joe, I really appreciate that the architectural review and planning got together like that. It's always magic when you get two entities together that work side by side, and now they're not competing with each other, they're supporting each other, and you get better results. There may be still a lot of unanswered questions, but nonetheless, it's a friendly fire kind of situation, and so I'm grateful for that, so I don't think we're looking at a confused document. But my question is, are we looking at mixed use and multifamily, not residential?
This,
This is tonight, the first reading is for that purpose?
tonight it's for qualified housing projects. And currently, as the state has defined qualified housing projects, they have to either be multifamily or mixed use with a specific percentage of at least housing. So it could be 100% housing. It has to be at least 2/3 housing, and then the rest can be commercial, or it could be 100% housing. So it's either type of project, but it would not, as we just discussed, apply to single family. So a single family, an individual lot that wants to build a single family home could not use these objective design standards, nor could a subdivision that wants to build single family homes would be able to use the objective design standards.
Okay, so it seems to me, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, predominantly from the ground up, something that's being built for the first time, not remodeled or anything of that nature.
That is correct. It could be an infill project, and how they redevelop that site, they would have to comply with these standards as well, if it's a multifamily or mixed-use project that qualifies.
Well, I think there's a lot of questions that I don't know to ask yet, but the ones that I've heard so far, Peter gave a good explanation on an area that most of us are not that familiar with. But the process, to me, is nice. The process is clean, and I think our responsibility is fiduciary and make sure we're following the process as best as we can. We have entities involved here. I'm supportive of it. I haven't found a reason why not to be. I think it's followed all the rules, and it's walking the straight line. That's my thoughts on it.
I did want to address the prior question about lessons learned, because staff also reached out, spoke to other communities to make sure that we learned from them as well. And one of the bigger lessons that other communities have learned is they've gone through this effort to create a robust document with lots of great standards that the community is happy with to make sure that we get this quality project and one that meets that architectural desire of the community, only to find out that when an applicant developer comes in and they files their application and they're doing a project that qualifies for the density bonus law, they request waivers and concessions for 20 or 30 of the objective design standards that were created. And as this council knows, when based on state law nowadays, when a developer requests a waiver, concession, or incentive, the city is very hard pressed to deny that. So in those circumstances, all of these great standards that have been created have basically been evaded because they provide the affordable housing. So because we can't completely avoid that, what we did build into the process via the ordinance is if a developer or applicant comes in and they do request incentives, waivers, or concessions from the objective design standards based on that flow chart that Jacqueline showed earlier, that project would then have to go to the Planning Commission for their final decision. That would create transparency to the community that certain objective design standards are not being adhered to, and it would allow the Planning Commission to weigh in on it. Although they still have to analyze it from an objective standpoint, it at least creates that transparency. And then from our perspective, it also allows us to really provide an incentive for the developers to follow the objective design standards and, not have to go through that particular process. But that was something that we built in based off of the lessons learned.
That's a little bit of a fallback.
Correct.
Very, very good.
All right,
Thank you.
David?
Thank you, and that was a great comment you just made. That is truly appreciated. What we do here and what we can deal with in Sacramento are sometimes two different things or from. I want to thank staff, the experts, obviously, ARC and planning, and the public for all the work to get to this point. And seems like it's a very good document, very good presentation. Again, it's hard to see some small things when they're blown up or you spend some time looking at them. I think they'll be very helpful and helpful to our staff as well to go through, and those applicants to go through the process. It helps a streamlined process, and I also am appreciative of the change to recoup the costs, which I know we've talked about up here in the budget for years, and as a council, we appreciate that as well. One question I had, and I don't know where it goes, the mixed-use projects, in addition to being more community-friendly, walkable, things of that nature that was mentioned, Peter mentioned that earlier, they also can help if they're designed properly, or we encourage them to design properly to help benefit with VMTs, vehicle miles traveled, for those individuals who can possibly work in those areas or work close by without having to get in a vehicle to drive downtown, to drive to West LA. Is that also been a consideration in preparing some of the objective standards?
I would say the answer to that is, first of all, it's supportive of all of those goals, but the real policies for that are contained elsewhere in your general plan and your municipal code. And what this document does is it really addresses the character and quality of the design in those cases where the traditional processes for achieving those in Calabasas aren't able to be utilized because the project is defined as needing to be approved ministerially.
Well, thank you very much. I have no further questions. I'm waiting to hear Alicia's questions.
I actually just have, it was a very good presentation and great work by staff. I was just wondering if you could walk us through a project that has already been approved or built that would have gone through this if it were coming forth today, and how it might have been different. Like how the process would be different versus like what happened and what would now happen.
I want to tread carefully because we try not to bring up old projects, but the most recent one is the Commons project. And frankly, that would probably look very different if it went through the ODS process, because the standards that we have in these objective design requirements probably would not have allowed that 8-story or 7-story building in that fashion. It would have required a lot more separation or setbacks from each floor. It would have required different articulation. And there's quite a bit of design elements that they would have had to incorporate in that project. And then, of course, if they aren't meeting those requirements, then it would go to the Planning Commission.
Great, no, super helpful. So really that these design standards will have a positive impact, a very positive impact to future projects.
I don't want to, it is intended to make sure that the quality and expectation of the community is captured within this. I think the big key point that John keeps touching on, but hasn't fully articulated it, is that our fundamental policies in the municipal code and in our general plan remain the same. The purpose of objective design standards is to hone that in and provide a tool for the city that we can use to actually require projects to meet a specific standard and develop something that meets the quality that the city is looking for. But this is not fundamentally changing the zoning code. It's not fundamentally changing the traffic pattern and the circulation of the city. All of that's already been established. This is just fine-tuning what development could look like.
I think it's great. And then my last question is, I know it was a state requirement. When does it have to be in effect by?
We, in our housing element, said that we would have this completed in 2023. So we are a little bit behind, but so the sooner we can, the better, which is why we did engage this process. It took a little bit longer than I think we anticipated developing the objective design standards, but that was also because we were getting great input from the Planning Commission, from the ARP, and we wanted to make sure that we continued those meetings to make sure that the document was well crafted.
And the result speaks for itself, so it was worth the delay. I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Now it's my turn. I'm not going to make many comments. I did want to say that in reviewing this and considering the objective standards, as objective design standards, I actually think there is a tremendous benefit to be had by having objective design standards, because it helps the community and it also helps developers meet expectations of the community before they come in here. So that part of it I would support if it was standing alone, and I think there is a place for objective design standards. Everyone's laughing. However, I continue to believe, and I hold this really very firmly, that we are not bound by the housing element or any of the housing laws any longer. This is because, first of all, and since I first started mentioning this, California's population continues to decline. It's declining every year. We're down now over 500,000, approaching a net loss of probably 1 million before there's any chance of it coming back. So there's now no rational basis for these RHNA numbers, for the housing element, for any of these things other than building extra housing. Secondly, and that means also very little in the way of progress for affordable housing has been made in my overall view. So the legislature is really just doing this for the for developers and not really looking at for the citizens. But more importantly, I continue to believe that this city has been victimized by the Housing and Community Development Department of the state, which illegally entered into our 2020 campaign with Measure N and illegally funneled state monies into Calabasas to advocate in favor. Completely illegal. And until the people who did that, including Zachary Olmsted, are brought to justice, I believe that they should be stopped from enforcing any of these rules here. So we are in a very unique position on the one hand. On the other hand, I think the whole state would have some argument that there's no longer any kind of nexus or logic behind these laws that would allow them to intrude upon municipal authority. So although I do agree with everything you've said about the objective design standards and their value, it's now mixed in here with a document that says we're required to do it, and therefore I can't vote for it because I disagree with that part of what it is, if that makes any clarity. So thank you. I mean, I do think you guys did a good job in your presentation. I certainly have no complaints about the outside consultants' work or your work. It's just a complaint legally that I do not want to take any action on my part that would be contrary to my stated position. So I don't have anything else. Would anybody, I know we've gone around, but did anybody else want to say anything before we took a vote? Okay. Was City Attorney like to say anything about my comments?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay. So I'm going to read the ordinance, but is there a motion?
I'll move adoption of the
Second.
ordinance.
Okay, that's Kraut Shapiro. And this is ordinance number 2026-424, which I'm required to read. An ordinance of the title. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Calabasas, California, adding section 17.12.147 of the Calabasas Municipal Code regarding objective design standards and amending section 17.12.145 to align the existing section with the proposed objective design standards. I'm going to waive further reading of the text unless there is a complaint, and we will take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I am opposed, and I'm going to say nay, so it is 4-1. Thank you. It is now a little after 8:30, so we will take a 10 minutes. Is that okay?
That's a good idea.
We have a couple meaty items coming up, so let's take a 10-minute break. Come back at 15 minutes to 9. Okay, and we're back on the air. After our break, we're going to move on to continued business. Item number 8 is a tennis and swim center fee study implementation update from Community Services Director Erica Green. And go ahead, and I see 2 other people with you, Jeff.
Yes, I will introduce. We have Jeffrey Campbell, our Deputy Community Services Director, and Lana Felice, the Facility Supervisor or Recreation Supervisor at Tennis and Swim.
Okay, are you all 3 giving the report?
Yes, I will give the
Okay.
report, but we'll help answer
Okay,
questions.
great, okay.
How come we're not showing up here? Oh, there we go. Oh, there it is. There it is. Gotcha. Never mind. Which one is showing? This one? There we go. Okay. So the purpose of today's update is in response to Council's direction from December 3rd when we approved the new fee schedule from the fee study. So we're here to share some early impacts of the new membership model and fees and review the initial membership and revenue trends and provide Council recommendations based on the community feedback that we've received and outline next steps and ongoing monitoring. So the fee study overview was conducted by a consultant, Matrix Consulting Group. It evaluated the full cost of services across the tennis and swim center and identified an overall cost recovery at about 49%. Memberships represented the largest cost recovery gap through the study. On December 3rd, City Council reviewed and approved the fee study recommendations, adopting new membership structures and fees designed to balance access, affordability, and long-term sustainability. So the reasons for the fee changes were to address rising costs and aging infrastructure, operating and staffing costs increased, along with the need for major infrastructure repairs and facility improvements. Correcting longstanding cost under recovery, the current fees had not kept pace with actual cost, resulting in a significant and ongoing funding gap. And finally, to modernize and simplify the membership model, the update aligned Tennis and Swim with industry best practices while simplifying the membership structure for clarity and ease of use. So implementation and current status, the new membership tiers and revised fees were implemented January 1st with systems updated and staff trained to support the transition smoothly. We are continually monitoring membership changes, tracking changes like cancellations or downgrades to understand impacts and adjust strategies accordingly. We are continuously soliciting feedback to ensure the new structures meet member needs effectively, and that's done through a ongoing survey that has a QR code and is at all our facilities. Actually, if anyone wanted to fill that out, they could find that at any of our facilities. We have that on the website, and we also have that available at the Tennis and Swim Center. So the membership snapshot you see here is pre, so before January 1st, and post. So before January 1st, we had 3,332 memberships. 707 were weekend non-primetime memberships, which, as you recall, were dissolved. 200 memberships have canceled since the implementation of the new fee structure due to inactivity, expense, or relocation. So we have 2,525 memberships today. Since the implementation of the new fee, we have also gained 100, I believe we're at over 100 now, 110 new memberships, and cancellations were 200. The tab there that you see with the category identifies where those cancellations took place and what new membership categories those were in. 63% of cancellations were non-resident, 37% were residents, and new memberships, 75% are non-residents and 25% are residents. So membership changes, this is showing the number of downgrades in these tables. So as you can see, the number of downgrades, we've had 115, showcasing where they have moved from either full access family to fitness access couple, or from a couple to single adult. We've also had a number of upgrades, 24 upgrades from fitness access to full access, and full access adult to couple. This slide shows the previous model, the names of the memberships in their former categories and their new categories. So although this graph suggests higher membership under the current model, the increase is primarily due to reclassifying the prior non-primetime memberships into current full or fitness access categories and not accounting for the prior weekend non-primetime memberships, which were eliminated. So early revenue trends analysis, our monthly membership revenue shows a positive trend, about 10%, indicating alignment with our cost recovery goals. Early indicators suggest revenues are on track, supporting our financial health. These trends highlight the effectiveness of the new fee structure and membership tiers, and we will continue monitoring to ensure consistent growth and adjustment as needed. So what members are telling us, we've received probably 400, about 400 surveys telling us and communicating the changes and what their thoughts were. So we kind of summarized those, and we put these in the presentation so we could let you know what our response to those are. So what our members are telling us is there are not enough changes, updates to the facility to justify the rate increases. So we're saying in the past 2 years, over $1 million has been spent updating the facility, which includes tennis court resurfacing, LED lighting upgrades, pool replaster, pool deck replacement, lobby updates, new furniture, Canyon Cafe renovation, HVAC updates, and fitness equipment replacements. In addition, the 1968 electrical panels and galvanized water lines need to be replaced at a cost of over $1 million. They're also telling us that the wait list is too long. So prior to January 1st, there were approximately 4,547 individuals on the wait list, with entries dating back to 2022. Over the past 4 months, staff has contacted approximately 1,300 individuals and reduced the wait list to about 3,200. This reduction is the result of removing duplicate and ineligible entries, as well as converting individuals to active memberships. Staff has now reached individuals who joined the waitlist in 2024, which reflects meaningful progress and demonstrates that the waitlist is moving more efficiently. What we're also hearing is the need for a senior guest fee for fitness and tennis. Currently, there is not a senior guest fee, and the senior patrons have expressed interest in a reduced guest fee for drop-in fitness and tennis use. The existing guest fee is $16 on weekdays and $21 on weekends. Staff recommends establishing a senior guest fee of $10 on weekdays and $13 on weekends, which better aligns with the senior cost recovery rate and supports greater affordability and access for senior participants. And finally, we're hearing from league participants to implement a sanctioned league visiting non-member player fee. So this is for leagues such as USTA that have games at the tennis and swim, and this is the opposing players that come are subject to the guest fee, which they are indicating is too high for the opposing players and requested a lower fee. And we've heard that quite a bit throughout the survey. So the staff is recommending to implement a reduced rate of $10 on weekdays and $13 on weekends for sanctioned tennis league visiting players and non-members. This approach recognizes the unique nature of league play while still helping offset the cost associated with heavy use and ongoing maintenance of the courts and equipment. So staff recommendations are to establish a senior guest fee for tennis and fitness of $10 on weekdays and $13 on weekends, and establish a sanctioned tennis league visiting players and non-members fee of $10 on weekdays and $13 on weekends. And also receive the presentation and discuss the recommendations related to implementation of the Tennis and Swim Center fee study, provide further direction to staff, and if applicable, adopt Resolution 2026-2 2005, updating the citywide fee schedule to include additional fees for the Tennis and Swim Center. So with that, that concludes oh, no, that is not it. Future actions and strategy. It's important to note that this isn't a final assessment. We are continuing to assess and survey our members. So we will continue to do monthly reviews of membership trends and revenue to ensure alignment with our strategic goals, continue to track cancellations and any movement between those membership tiers. Collection of member feedback is essential, and we will continue to do that as well, and provide council with updated analysis periodically to ensure that our strategies remain effective and make operational adjustments based on real-time data. Now we have questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have no public speaker cards, so Peter, why don't you start?
Sure. First of all, thank you for that presentation, and thank you for getting us feedback early. This is great. We asked for it in 6 months. We got it in 5. Couple of questions on the numbers. There was 1,300 people taken off of the wait list, but only 100 new members. Does that mean 1,200 were duplicates or ineligible?
They most likely moved up in the from the non-prime time status to a full access or a fitness access. So,
okay.
Yes.
And we had 200 memberships canceled, but 100 added.
Correct.
Is that because once we remove the weekend, we don't have room for more, or are we still trying to get more off of the wait list and on there?
We still are working through the wait list, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So appreciate all of your hard work on that, and I'm glad to see that the revenue performance, it looks like revenue's still up 10%, even though we increased the fees. We lost some members as a whole.
Correct.
The wait list is coming down, the revenue's going up, which is what we were looking for.
Correct.
So that's great news. The only other thing I'd have to comment on would be the senior guest pass and the league player fees. I would definitely be supportive of the lower figures there, the 16.21 going down to 13 and 10, or 10 and 13. But as far as the league goes, do we actually charge the opposing team when they show up, or is that part of their league fees? And how do other swim and tennis centers handle that? Oh, and for the record, Alicia and David were going to ask the same question.
So each opposing league pays to go to other organizations. We've checked that out. So yes, they're required to pay. There's variations of how they pay. They could do court fees or they can do guest fees. We don't get any money from the league, the USTA, to use our facility. So the goal was to offset the use. We have a lot of USTA use, so that was the impetus for implementing the guest fee. We just learned it's hard for them. It's quite a bit to come in and pay
Sure.
the 16.
But I guess more specifically, when they come in, does the league representative give you a check for 10 players? Here's my $160, or do you charge each individual as they come? Is the cost for our facility that transparent to the opposing team? And what do the opposing teams charge our players when they're on their courts? Are we in line? That's what I'm trying to figure out, is are we in line with their numbers, and is that a league cost, or is that so transparent to the players that we're getting feedback?
They can do it either way. The captain can pay those fees, or they can have each of their opposing player pay the fee. That is up to them how they want to do it. A lot of times it is the captain that's paying those fees. Jeff, do you want to add anything else to that?
Yes, typically the home team will pay for the guest fees. The feedback we were getting is that of all the teams that are playing in the regional USTA, that our facility was the highest guest fees going in, so that's why we look to readjust them. So the home team are typically members, so they are not paying a guest fee to come in. They're coming in as part of their membership. And the fee to USTA is USTA will organize the league and schedule the matches. They keep all that money, but then the guest fees come in from the visiting teams. And then our team, when they play other facilities, guest fees are paid, but again, typically covered by the host team of that facility. It's kind of a a courtesy that they do amongst themselves with the USTA.
Got it. Well, thank you very much for the explanation. That's all of my question.
Ed?
Thank you. Great report. I mean, it's becoming a jewel. We've got a little ways to go yet, but we're behind you, and I look forward to having that happen. Curious about the amount of maximum memberships we could have. So we have a waiting list. That list has been on long as I can remember living here. So I know it takes sometimes 4 or 5 years, but when are we maxed out? And there might be, what's the fall-off rate or the turnover rate on openings? So you can tell someone when they call up, I asked this question a million times myself, well, put my name on the list, we have to come down. I came down and put my name on the list. When do you expect this would happen? Well, we can't tell you. We don't know. It depends on a lot of, but you can give an idea. Are we at maximum now?
We are not. Previously, we had about 7,500 members. So with removing that 707 membership, we lost about 1,000, I would say, maybe 1,000, 1,200 members. So right now, we're trying to either move people from those non-prime time to get the full access memberships and then pull people from the wait list. So our wait list is actually moving fairly quickly. So before, with that 7,500, you were on the wait list for a bit, but now that we have some flexibility, we've been going through those fairly quickly. And now the process isn't to have to come in personally and do that. You can do that online. So since we've implemented an online wait list, we've gotten another 350 people. So when we get to those folks know the cost of the memberships. We'll get them easily. So right now, we're just being fair and moving through the wait list, and hopefully we'll get through that fairly quickly.
So let me understand your interpretation of moving through the wait list.
Mm-hmm.
Call that person or the persons that are up for it.
Correct.
Leave a message.
Yes.
Or maybe get them, and eventually they'll come through with an answer. Maybe if we could give them a timeline.
We
You've got
do.
30 days.
We give them 30 days.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So at least they know, and have that record. Well, you've got the date of the phone call, so
Yes.
you know what the date is. So the maximum amount, what would be too many people to have at one time?
I
as
think that's
members?
where our data's, what we're really trying to look at is the peak times, when it might be too crowded. So we don't know a maximum amount. We can't say 10,000 people or 7,500 is where we're going to stay. It really depends on the type of membership, how active that family or those people are. So we're getting the data to kind of see how that is going. So we can say, okay, there's not, we could have more people in here. So we're trying to first bring in as many as we can from the elimination of the weekend membership and add people from the wait list. And then Lana and her team are looking at the data on that of how busy it is. So we don't have an exact number because we still want to make it comfortable and accessible, but we don't want to overcrowd it.
Thank you. That's where I was about to go, because you don't know until you know.
Right.
And when you look in the pool and there's too many kids, there's too much going
Right.
on, that's not a good thing, and you can't ask people to leave, so you know the membership level you have, and then they all seem to come in. And I'm not talking holidays, I'm just talking general.
General use,
General
yes.
use. So
Yes.
it's important to track that, and I see that you are tracking,
Mhm.
so that's a big deal, and that gives us the private feeling that it is an entity that's
Correct.
not just looking to churn out memberships.
That's correct.
And that's good. So I have one more comment. I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you. I think I may have mentioned it to Kendon when we had met. But I got a good idea, and it's in line with what's in here. People really don't understand how much money we've already put into Calabasas Tennis and Swim. They may remember what it was, and they're happy to see the way it looks, especially walking in the lobby. The lighting is wonderful, the entranceway. There's so much good about it. I think we should put a sign or some kind of identification like you may see on the highways. Your public dollars or tax dollars have gone to work. It doesn't have to be this language. We have spent X amount of money. Currently, the pool, resurfacing. In the future, we expect to do the following, a little bit of news about it, because you're getting the full membership walking through, whether they're going to the swimming pool or to the weight room or the tennis court. So now you're reinforcing the membership, and maybe a little sign, think of your friends maybe want to join or something. Just some kind of news, and maybe we could put it, I don't know how expensive it is, on some kind of news flash system. You would know best what you think would be enough to at least give them an update or a newsletter for those that are members. So
Yes.
they feel good about the money, that they have seen some good changes, and we've got more to come.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We can actually put that on our digital display boards and run that through to kind of show what projects have happened and what's coming up. We could do that too.
I mean, when they see the tennis courts, even if they don't play tennis, they'll admire what was done and realize that it's not just the pool, but it's the courts and the weight rooms to happen, and it's exciting. That builds a nice momentum. You've done a great job, the whole staff, everybody. It's just great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David?
Thank you. I'm going to just jump on top of Ed's comments. Great comments by Peter and Ed. I've seen signs before, I know our city's done it, when we get grant funds, which you do so well, staff does so well also, to say paid for by grant measure A or whatever it might be, as a little sign, but maybe it's better to do the whole thing. Just a thought. The wait list is down, and you say it's moving forward and progressing. I remember the original discussions about this. Did you anticipate the wait list was going to be down much less than it is now because you thought people might drop off a little quicker than they are now originally?
I think that we anticipated we would have drop-off, of course. I don't think it's more dramatic than what we thought it would be. I think it's actually doing fairly well for the increases.
Great, and the report's great. I read it all, I listened, obviously, and I am also supportive of the lower costs item for senior guests. And the tennis makes sense. That was a question I had. My question, does that apply to USTA for juniors and adults, or are we talking just the adult leagues that happen on a regular basis?
It would apply to all USTA leagues.
Okay, because I know way back, the USTA collected all the funds, and they whatever they did with each, wherever the tennis was being played, the matches were being played, the USTA was covering that. But you're saying that the home teams generally in the leagues are covering those costs.
Yes.
It doesn't apply to USTA tournaments, though, for juniors, which I know still go on there, right?
Yes, the USTA tournaments for juniors would still be a separate fee that each individual participant would pay for that tournament.
Great.
League play and tournament play are treated differently.
Great. And then the only other question I had, based on the comments of the residents and those who may have left or been disgruntled with that there weren't enough things being done, even though we have counters for that, are there any discussions about what could be done possibly more in the gym area itself? If that was a complaint or not, I don't know.
It was not, but we do have plans to upgrade the gym and give it a fresh paint job, get some more equipment, and definitely once we're seeing this revenue come in, we'll be able to do some more updates.
Including expanding the fitness area where the old
Yes.
playground used to be.
Right.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Thank you for the report, and appreciate coming back so quickly with it. Thank you.
Alicia?
Thank you also for coming back so quickly with all this information. I just want to go through really quickly. Under what members are telling us, I'm at the Tennis and Swim Center almost every day, so I'm always overhearing what people are saying. And one of the number one complaints is something very small, but about the weights in the class, in the room where their classes are, that the weights are falling apart. That's literally the number one complaint that I hear.
Yes.
So, and people say they're getting replaced, and
Yeah, that's actually going to be addressed beginning of May 1st. We're going to do a little refresh in the fitness studio and get some new weights, some new equipment, get some cabinets to lock things up so we can keep them at the facility and people not taking them.
great. And then, let's see. Under the implement a senior guest fee for fitness and tennis, just my question, and other people might have it, is what then is the incentive to be a member? If you could just always drop in at a, go ahead.
Well, for a guest fee for tennis, you have to be accompanied by a member.
Or for the senior guest fee for fitness and tennis?
Okay, well, for fitness, to come in as a guest, you have to be accompanied by a member, first of all.
Okay.
So
Oh.
that has to happen. You could do the drop-in fee for a tennis court, but then you're at the mercy of what's available at that time when you come in. If you're coming in as a guest, you're having the privilege of a member reserving that court. You know at 10 o'clock you have that court, so you're coming as a guest, but you have to be accompanied by a member to do
I
a guest for
misread it. That-
tennis court or to go into the gym.
Thank you for clarifying. I misread the guest fee. I was thinking it was for the individuals, not the member and their guest, so.
Well, the member comes in as part of the membership, but they could,
Exactly.
yes.
Right, I was thinking drop-in.
Okay.
I was thinking drop-in. The question was already asked, what other tennis centers are doing for the tournaments, and I think that was it. That's it. You guys are doing a great job over there. And just shout out to the employees at the front desk. They're always very friendly, and it's great. It's very welcoming. Thank you.
I have several questions about projects that have been explored, and some have had reports in the past, well, since 1993. And I don't know what's ever happened to these, whether they were considered, well, they have been deferred or rejected over the years. But just tell me the status, if you know, of these ideas. So there were plans drawn up to put a second story on the weightlifting room, I think it was, that would allow us some additional gym space. Was that entirely shelved? I know it was deferred during one of the recessions, but is that anything that's still a possibility, or is that just abandoned?
I did not know that there was plans to do a second story on
I think, Jeff,
on the gym.
we talked about it. You had seen the plans, I think, right?
We have very few plans, but I have not seen plans for that. We have plans for when the small pool came in. There's a few, again, we don't have original plans, but we have plans for when some of the sheds came in, when the small instructional pool came in, but I have not seen anything to add a second story to any of the buildings yet.
Okay. There was at one time, in the changing rooms, there was saunas, and there had been an electrical fire that gutted some of the bathroom areas and the changing rooms because it was not up to code, and the decision was made to take out the saunas. Then there was talk of putting saunas outside, like by the pool area, somehow attached to that area out, one of the buildings out there. Has that resurfaced at all?
I have not heard any requests on that currently. That happened before my time. I did hear what happened, but there have not been a whole lot of members asking about that.
I'm not asking so much about members. I just want to know things you're planning for improvements. Are those gone out of the equation, or are we still considering it, or has it just not come up?
I think we're going with the priority of the $1 million for the electrical panels and the water main lines. So we haven't explored doing any additional capital improvement projects until we get those two taken care of.
Okay, when we bought the center, there was an extra space in the parking lot. That is what is now the dirt area that's being used for parking. There were plans drawn up to put an extra court there of some type or some kind of outdoor activity. Has that resurfaced, or have we decided that actually the parking there was supposed to be temporary? Not urging one way or the other, but is there a plan to develop that area, or is it just going to be permanent parking?
The parking's actually very needed. If you look on good weather days, especially in the summertime, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays when Aquafit is there, people are parking on the street, down the street. If we did take that up, we would take away a good 20, 30 parking stalls. So again, I've not seen plans to add another court there in addition to the 18 we currently have, but if we did do that, that would severely hamper our parking. The one complaint we do get is that we don't have enough parking there, and that's
Okay.
what we hear often right now, is that it takes 20 minutes to drive through and hope someone leaves, or we're parking down the street and walking in, and we're late for our court reservation. That's something that is more reoccurring for us.
And it's hard to work around the pre-existing trees, I know, which of course we're not going to remove any trees, but it does take off some spaces off the table. You brought up the subject of the playground. That would be, I assume, the area that used to be the playground but is now cement covered. So my understanding was that was going to be an area for classes or yoga or something. Did that, then now you've mentioned you're going to convert that to part of the gym area, but did that not work out as planned on the yoga?
Well, it'd be an outdoor fitness area. It'd be a combination of both. We'd do outdoor classes there, and we could expand the fitness area where the weights, stretching area, the turf area, where a weight sled, things like that. There are requests for things like that. So it'd be a combination, because it's such a large area, it'd be a combination of multiple uses.
At night, I see that area not being utilized at all. But what's during the day, what is happening with it right now?
When you say outdoor area, you're talking the area that has the green turf, or are you talking the concrete area?
The concrete area.
The concrete area right now is nothing because it has not been developed. So the playground was removed. It was turned into a concrete pad because we needed that first and foremost to be able to do the pool renovation, because we needed to have access to get the heavy equipment in to get the pool deck and the plaster out. And that was the only way to get in and out. So that served as phase one for the pool project. And once the revenue does accumulate and we have the electrical panels and the water line done, there is plan to expand it into a multi-purpose outdoor fitness area for classes and weights, stretching areas, things like that.
Well, are you saying the concrete might come out?
No. We'd put the padding on top of it, the rubber matting.
Okay. At one point, there was an idea floated to have experimental nights of the week, certain designated nights of the week where there would be expanded hours, like it would be open till midnight or something. That was to accommodate like maybe a special membership or just allowing more people to be taken off the wait list. Has there been any talk of that lately?
No. When we did the fee study, we went with the hours of operation. So we were just trying to adjust and correct what was previously not sustainable. So we did not look at expanding hours.
So the hours are going to be pretty stable right now.
Correct.
The fitness area, my final comment, the fitness area on the gym area, the one that has the tarp over it right now, is there any plan to make a more permanent, like, I don't know, like a pavilion area where there would be maybe posts, like, and then a top that's more permanent than just a tarp?
That is something that we have discussed. Again, that's just a budgetary issue.
But is that something that, I mean, you say you discussed it, if we had the money, is that something that would be considered, or where is that? I know someone had mentioned it in the distant past, because the tarp is not probably ideal for it. I know the tarp is helpful in keeping the area sheltered, but it's not 100% when it rains.
Correct.
And it's not really covered entirely. So is that a future possibility that would be done?
It is a future possibility, and I think when we finish the concrete pad, we're going to put some sort of structure up there as well. So maybe we can do something that's similar over the outdoor.
As far as my comment about the recommendations, I agree with the recommendations. As you know, I did not agree with the fee increases, but these particular ones I think are well-grounded, and I appreciate the responsiveness to the citizen input. I did want to mention to the council, I mean, we get these inquiries all the time about the wait list, and we have answered this innumerable times, but it bears repeating. The whole reason why there's this wait list and why we can't favor our residents like we do, say, with the senior center, is because we took county money to buy the tennis center. And it was 1993, it would not have been feasible to buy it with our budget, because we had no budget at that time, basically. So unless and until we find a way to buy out the county's portion, we're not only by law not allowed to favor our residents, but it's actually written into the agreement whereby we got the grant and whereby we took control of the tennis center. It's specifically written.
Correct.
So I get this all the time. I don't know. It seems like an easy concept to understand. I think most people are satisfied once that explanation's made. And of course, Kendon knows that we had a letter from the county offering to give us the rest of the tennis center, and then they rescinded the letter, which was a real shame. Would have cost us nothing. They were actually going to charge us for buying it, and then they would have agreed to take that pool of money and put it into another park and recreational facility, so we would have been a net loss of nothing. And then they came back and said, well, actually, we want not half of the value of what it was in 1993, but we want $10 million, which is our half what it's worth now.
Right.
So just a little reason why we haven't done that. Okay, so you need a vote on implementing the revised resolution. Is that correct? Any further comments?
Yes, just one, and that is that the resolution says, referring to Appendix A as the fee schedule itself, but there's no fee schedule in here, so I just want to confirm before we vote on this, the fee schedule would reflect a guest fee of $10 on the weekdays and $13 on the weekends for seniors, and a guest fee of $10 on the weekdays and $13 on the weekends for sanctioned tennis league visiting players and non-members, and no other changes aside from those. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think there's a slide that had that too, if we could put it up maybe.
Yes, yes.
Did you need the slide, or is that good enough?
Nope, as long as that's what the
Okay.
changes are, I'm
Oh,
good.
Did our Assistant City Manager want to say something?
Yeah, just real quick, Mayor, just want to add one point regarding the hours of operation. Members will see a survey come out next week with the option of opening up earlier on the weekends and closing earlier on the weekdays. So that'll be put out to the members next week. Just want to share that with you.
Wasn't exactly helpful, thank you. All right.
We can vote the survey.
Well, it's not just me, it just came up a long time ago. All right, so is there a motion?
I will move the item.
I'll second it.
I heard Ed, so it's going to be Shapiro Albrecht on the motion to approve the staff recommendations for amendments. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thank you. We're now moving to item number 9, which is a CalPERS actuarial cost analysis report for granting 2 years of additional service credit. Ron Allers, I think that's the only person presenting. Yes? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 weeks ago, the City Council received and filed the cost analysis report from CalPERS regarding the 2 years additional service credit. That was required by state law to provide a 2 weeks public notice to all the citizens of the city, offering this new benefit to our members. As a reminder, the purpose of the 2 year service credit is to reduce our salary and benefit cost by providing an incentive to those people that are eligible to retire to actually retire within a certain time period. The resolution that you have before you tonight, the time period is set as April 23rd, which is tomorrow, through August 7th, 2026, so a little over 100 days. The employee must retire between these two dates in order to be eligible for this benefit. So they have to be out the door and terminate their relationship with the city of Calabasas as an employee. With that, you have the cost analysis report again, which provided a cost for 24 employees, and that it was $2.9 million. We do not in any way anticipate that we would have 24 employees walk out the door, especially not tomorrow. But we anticipate anywhere from 5 to 9 employees, and that would save us at a minimum of a little over $400,000 a year, even with the city paying the cost of this increased benefit. With that, we do have an employee of CalPERS is on Zoom, an actuary, if the council so wishes to ask any questions of him regarding the staff report, and he's actually the person that actually performed the analysis. The recommendation tonight is for the council to pass the resolution setting that time period of April 23rd through August 7th as our retirement window for this 2-year service credit, and then authorizing the city clerk and the mayor to sign certain documents that are required by CalPERS, certifying that we have complied with certain sections of the California Government Code regarding this benefit. With that, I'm available to answer any questions from the council.
Okay, I have no speaker cards, so I will, Ed, would you like to?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Hey, Ron. Two questions. One comment and then one question. I think it's a great thing. I mean, I'm a little new to this, but because it's a municipal type of situation, not private practice, but it really offers a special freedom to employees of municipalities, so they can plan on it sometime in the future. They don't necessarily have to take it now, which leads me to my question. And what would be the recommended frequency to offering something like this, using our city as an example? So we have it coming up now. There's a portion that will, if we approve it tonight, that will take advantage of that. When would that next be thought to consider to offer again?
Well, and ideally, hopefully never. The ideal would be to reduce our workforce at this point in time by however many, the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 individuals. And so those would create vacancies within the organization. We're required by state law that we have to reduce our workforce. It does not specify that it needs to be a one-to-one relationship. We just need to reduce our workforce, whether that be by 1 vacancy or 3 vacancies or what have you. That's up to city manager and the council as we do our budget deliberations. But hopefully we never have to offer this in the future, because we'll be at the right size of our organization to provide the services and operations to all of our citizens. So we don't necessarily anticipate offering this on any kind of schedule.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
David?
Thank you, Ron. One quick just confirmation. I know it's in the report. I know you said it last time. This would not affect or take effect with our budget till 2028, 2029, correct?
Correct. The increase in our unfunded liability and us paying on that is a 2-year delay. So yes, 28, 29, and the city would pay for it over a period of 5 years. Now realize from the point the employee walks out the door up until 28, 29, if that position remains vacant that whole time, now we have 2 years worth of actual savings, annual savings on not only their cost of the salary, but also the benefits that are related to that position.
Which is a large reason, one of the large reasons we're doing this, most important reasons.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Alicia?
I don't have any further questions.
Peter?
No more questions.
I have one which is on the second page of the report. We have a list of the categories of eligible employees. I mean, it's nothing personal, but it says city manager here, and I thought, Pam, that the city manager is under a separate contractual agreement with the city. So why would this be on here?
The city manager is on a separate employment contract, but as a member of CalPERS, they meet all of the eligibility requirements for somebody who may retire earlier, except the golden handshake.
Okay. Well, that leads to another question. I mean, and it's getting, this really is not personal, but, and it involves any employee. If during this time period we discharge an employee, can they say, okay, well now I'm going to take the golden handshake on my way out?
It would be an intersection of if we discharge one based on disciplinary action versus a retirement. And so we would have to look at the specific circumstance of whether or not that would be applicable. So it depends on the timing issue.
Well, but I know it's a timing because there's a time period, but what I wouldn't want to have happen is we have to immediately discharge somebody for malfeasance and then on their way out, they get the extra they get an extra handshake from the city. That would make no sense. So is there a protection against that?
There would be certain protections. The city would be allowed to negotiate a potential separation, a severance, and a waiver and release of certain claims. That would be separate and apart from this golden handshake, and whether or not they would be allowed to take it remains a separate issue. I think it depends on the timing of all that's involved. There are very specific nuances to the situation or scenario that you're describing. So I'm not going to be able to say, no, they won't be able to take it, but to the extent that they are eligible, that may become an ineligibility depending on the specific circumstance
Well,
of
have we worded this
termination.
properly so that we wouldn't have to do that?
Like if an employee is disciplined, like why would they then be eligible for this?
I want to make sure that no employee who's disciplined, like they have to leave immediately for disciplinary action, let's say they commit a crime or they embezzle from the city, it would be a joke to have the city be forced to pay them for an extra 2 years service credit. So if there's a way to do that in here, I'd like to do that.
We'll look into that. Usually with a separation or termination, they're not retiring. That would be a requirement under this set of issues.
All right, well,
So,
that's something to look
yeah.
into because it would certainly be a sham for someone to even be able to negotiate with us for a settlement under those conditions. I'm sure my colleagues would agree that that would be very wasteful and inappropriate.
Yeah, you know what, I want to bring up the element of the window may not be, the window may not be open for that employee to do that, even to consider it, because it's only open for a certain period of time. So the coincidence of that happening while the window is open is very narrow. You can only take advantage, it seems, you can only take advantage of it when it's offered, and
Okay,
the
but
offer
tomorrow,
expires.
but if we do it in that window, if we discover that someone's embezzling from the city and we can't discharge them unless we pay them an extra 2 years credit,
Yeah, if
That's
it
what I'm
happens
talking
during that window,
Right,
which is a
so-
narrow window, so you really,
I realize it's a narrow window, but there's no protection against it that I'm reading in this.
okay.
Do you have a suggestion for that? No, he was
No,
looking at me.
I can see the point, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea to do that. I'm just saying that the window is, the likelihood is trying to hit a bullseye from a very, very far distance with a dart. But
Well, maybe
it
if
doesn't
someone's
hurt to do it.
thinking of embezzling, now would be
Yeah.
a good time to do it, because then they could leave with with the city's money and an extra 2 years credit.
Don't give anyone any ideas.
Anyways,
Can you,
I'm not going to hold it up, but I'd like staff to look at that and bring it back at the next meeting if there's an issue with it, please.
Couldn't there be an exception?
I don't
in
know, I'm
this
just
for
bringing it
that-
up because I didn't
for
see it in there.
2 month, for a short time period?
If I could throw out, we're at the second reading of this, and in order to keep this moving forward, we do need to approve it the same as it was written last time, I believe.
That's what I said.
So we're a little too late to make a change here.
Well, we can do it now, and then we can change it if we need to do 2 more readings. No?
Then we have to
The actual resolution before you is a CalPERS document, and we haven't made any changes to it, nor do they allow us to make changes to that actual resolution.
Can we continue the
Well,
item then?
no, we can just pass it and hope that no one does anything that requires us to pay the 2 years.
Well, I think
mean,
we should, that's how we get ourselves into trouble, by like not making sure our documents are like as tight as they should be. So,
We cannot make a change to the resolution before you tonight.
no, I guess I'm asking like for Pam to make, given the scenarios that have been discussed, would someone be eligible for this arrangement?
We'll look into that. But typically, when you are terminating someone, we are not accepting any retirement. We don't allow them to retire. It's a termination. They're just separated. This would have to be a whole retirement application process that we would have to approve.
All right, well, it's obvious we have to pass it tonight or not, and not do it at all, so we'll have to do that, but I would like someone to look into that a little bit afterwards, just to make sure we understand where we're at. All right, So, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And this is to approve the recommendation. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay, thank you, Ron. Okay, verbal reports. David, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much. I attended a number of SCAG meetings on behalf of the city and our COG, the leadership. We had a joint policy committee meeting for all the policies, discussed quite a bit. A legislative committee in which we discussed a number of bills coming up. I think it's probably, given the time, better if I just send a quick note with those legislative items that we did discuss and support. The General Assembly's coming up in a couple weeks in the desert. I'll be attending. And I attended Valley Economic Alliance board meeting. And next week, I think a number of us are attending the Gala event, the annual event. And that is it for now. Thank you.
Alicia?
I attended the SCAG joint policy meeting. We had a COG meeting, and one of the items that came up was we sent a letter in opposition to expanding the Metro Board. Under Measure G, there was discussion that if and when, or I guess when, the County Board of Supervisors is expanded, they also want to expand the Metro Board, and it would do a disservice to the COG region, the way the representation would shift. So we discussed that. And the other day, what? Oh, the other day I went with EPIC and Public Safety Director Mike Dyer to watch the prescribed burn up off of Ettingham and Adamsville. And that was a very good experience to see it. Megan and Chief Smith were there, obviously, and just to see that's really what they did will really provide a positive benefit to our community, especially the residents that live up in that part of Molewood and Mulholland Heights. So that was a good opportunity to be up there and to see that. And we attended the Calabasas High School PFC meeting with Michael McConville. Anything else, David? Okay. Okay, yes. Thank you.
Peter? Oh, David, you have one other item?
Alicia just did. We did that job.
Oh, okay. Peter?
Just wanted to share that last Monday, 2 days ago, we had a meeting of the Open Space Initiative, the 2026 Open Space Ballot Initiative Ad Hoc Committee. That process is moving forward. We've made a few recommendations for additional zoning items to look at, but we are apparently on track for having a November ballot initiative.
Okay. Ed?
Yeah, just two things. Clean Power Alliance, I had a board meeting with the Finance Committee this morning, and we're really moving along. It's very nicely, especially this financial side. We're now going to be growing our reserve fund, which we didn't have until recently, which we were able to reduce our fees and hold them steady, even in light of Southern Cal Edison growing. And so expanding those investments into some type of long-term bond funds arrangements. And we talked about the fiduciary and managing it properly. So I'm excited about that, which will offset a lot of our costs and still retain our low expense ratios. And then I also attended the Valley Economic Alliance with David, a very purposeful and great organization.
Okay. And I have a few, I did attend on behalf of the city, the California Contract Cities Association board meeting, which served as a farewell to outgoing President Brenda Olmos of Paramount. It took me 3 hours and 5 minutes to get to Paramount. That was last week. I will be attending the statewide League of California Cities board meeting the 24th and 25th of this month in Sacramento. Right now, the summit is going on, and tomorrow, they're having a very, it's been very well publicized gubernatorial debate. And everyone, all the major candidates who were invited will be attending except for Betty Yee, who did drop out recently, and Eric Swalwell, who will not be attending. And finally, we have the voter information night. I know it's been announced elsewhere, but that is coming up with Mayor Pro Tem Ed Albrecht and myself, with assistance from the city clerk and the Mayor's Youth Council. That will be 7 to 8 p.m. on Monday, the 27th, and it will be open to the public and free of charge. And that is all. Do we have a city manager's report?
Nothing to report tonight, Mayor and Council.
Oh, good, okay. So we will adjourn, and we are not going to have a May 13th meeting. That has been canceled. So we are now going to have our next regular meeting on May 27th. A reminder again that on May 5th, if you so choose, starting at 8 o'clock, we will be counting ballots for our special election, I think right here in the council chambers, correct? It what? I can't.
It will be
Oh,
live
live
streamed as well,
streamed.
sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, and then we will be counting the other later arriving ballots about a week later. Okay, so thank you. We are adjourned. It is 9:45. Okay. Okay, thank you.